Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining us for the 23rd edition of the World Sustainable Summit, India's premier platform for deliberating the discourse around sustainability and climate change. My name is Anushree Harde, and I will be emceeing the session on decarbonizing freight in India, turning ambition to action. As we commence this session, it is my privilege to invite someone whose dedication to sustainable infrastructure has been instrumental in driving positive change. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sanjay Seth, Senior Director of the Sustainable Infrastructure Program at TERI, to deliver the welcome address. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Anushree. Good morning, everyone. It's indeed a privilege for me to welcome you to this very important session on decarbonizing freight in India, turning ambition into action. And this is the year of actions. We are all talking about action. If you're looking at climate change and the discourse and the narrative around it, I think everyone is focused on action now because 2030 is around the corner. And that's where we are going to really see how have we progressed on our SDGs implementation. And I think this is very, very key. It's also a privilege for me to be welcoming you on the 50th year of TERI's existence as we celebrate our 50 years of existence ever since. I think what better a time to host the WSTS than the 50th year. I'm glad that I have some of the people that I have had the privilege of working for in my earlier avatar, and some of you, who've come in and continue to support us in our endeavors. So it is a topic which is of utmost importance, not only for our country, but also for the entire planet. As I said, that when we are looking at the SDG, progress on the SDGs, the freight sector, we all know, plays a key role in our economy, and it also contributes significantly to GHG emissions and our air pollution. It is high time that we address this issue and take concrete steps towards sustainable and a greener future. Based on TERI's estimates, freight-related emissions are expected to increase sixfold by 2050 if you compare it to 2019-2020 levels. And this is, of course, when we talk of the business as usual scenario. And that's where I think we need to play a role. India, of course, has pledged to reduce its carbon emissions, increase energy efficiency, and promote renewable energy sources. By decarbonizing freight, we can contribute to achieving these commitments while also gaining numerous benefits such as improved air quality, reduced fuel consumption, and enhanced public health. Air quality is something which we are all very well used to be looking at, especially in the NCR region, where we see AQI indices crossing sometimes even 500. Probably our meters only are able to read up to 500, but it goes beyond 500. So, and thanks to the wind directions, which are making it better these days. So I think we all need to focus our attention here and see how we can contribute to improving all of this. Decarbonizing freight, we must focus on multiple fronts, promoting the adoption of electric and hybrid vehicles, investing in efficient logistics infrastructure, and encouraging the use of alternate fuels. I think the room next door is talking about alternate fuels. So it's great that this floor is dedicated to mobility and stuff like that. Collaboration between government, industry, and civil society is essential to drive this innovation and implement policy changes and create a sustainable ecosystem for clean freight infrastructure. As we move forward, let us remember that decarbonizing freight is not just a responsibility, it is also an opportunity, and every challenge has its opportunity. So here we are discussing another such opportunity. It is an opportunity to build greener, more resilient and prosperous India. By embracing sustainable practices in our freight sector, we can pave the way for a better future for generations to come. At the end, decarbonizing freight is a shared responsibility. It requires collective action, bold policies, and innovative solutions. While we have the policy frameworks, it's always that whether it is whatever sector that we talk of, It's the implementation frameworks that we all discuss. And I think that's very, very important for any policy to succeed. So I once again thank you for your participation. I wish the deliberations great success. I look forward to seeing the outcomes of these discussions. I'm sure the colleagues, the eminent speakers who have been invited today, will do justice to this discussion, and we will have very positive outcomes, key takeaways, which we will then present in forms of policy briefs or op-eds wherever they are most appropriate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your enriching words. I now invite Mr. Chhatrasal Singh for the keynote address. Mr. Singh is presently working as additional member, Traffic Transportation in the Ministry of Railways, Railway Board. An IRDS officer, 1988 batch, he joined railway services in December 1989. Before joining as additional member Traffic Transportation, he was posted as Principal Chief Operations Manager, Southeast Central Railway, Bilaspur, and Divisional Railway Manager, Chakradharpur Division of Southeastern Railway. I welcome you, sir. So before giving the keynote address, I would request Sanjay sir to kindly present a token of appreciation to Mr. Singh. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Please, sir.
Thank you. Distinguished speakers and panelists of the day, participants in this summit, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. At the beginning, I would like to acknowledge that it's a great privilege to be here today in the distinguished company of all of you. And I take this opportunity to thank TERI, which has been doing pioneering work in the sector of climate change, decarbonization, which is the theme for today. So in today's deliberations, I would just like to add something about the railways contribution towards this very important aspect for mitigation of the climate change due to carbon emission, etc. In the vast tapestry of India's transportation landscape, efficient movement of goods has always been an important and integral thread for economic development, providing connectivity and with sustainability. The growth of the economy, the need for a robust and efficient freight transportation system has never been as at present, and in the light of escalating focus on the decarbonization and sustainability of supply chains, it is indeed a privilege to represent an organization which has always been at the forefront of offering the most sustainable and efficient forms of surface transport, both in the freight as well as passenger segment. IR has been termed as the backbone of the Indian economy and as a major contribution in facilitating transportation of passengers as well as goods. Today's agenda, which is focusing on decarbonizing the freight transportation in India, would therefore be focused on railways' contribution in India's freight movement and the critical role that IR plays in the overall logistics ecosystem. This is over and above the social obligation which the railways bear, thanks to the support of the government, to cater to passenger mobility demands and the associated infrastructure which has been continuously growing in the recent past. Some of the key statistics pertaining to the railways in India are that there is a humongous network of more than 68,000 route kilometers, which is crisscrossing the entire length and breadth of the country. And more importantly, on the freight side, the current pool of over 3 lakh wagons and more than 3,000 freight terminals, which provide a wide spectrum of services to meet the logistics requirement of every segment of industry, and also anticipating the needs of future growth of the economy. This number is continuously being grown at a frenetic pace. To give a brief outline, railways are running more than 9,000 freight trains on a daily basis and carrying approximately 4.8 million tons in the current financial year on a daily basis, which is the current level of loading. With this wide and interconnected network, the railways have achieved a freight loading of more than 1,500 million tons in the previous financial year, and this year the goal is to load approximately 1,600 million tons. And as of the end of January 2024, the railways had achieved a loading of approximately 1,300 million tons, which translates into a growth of approximately 4.4% over the previous financial year. The goal for the subsequent year is even more ambitious. It's 1,650 million tons. And envisaged in the National Rail Plan, which was issued in 2022, that the railways would endeavor to carry 3 billion tons of freight traffic by 2030. Railway is determined to increase the capacity and efficiency of the rail infrastructure and network to increase the loading to the envisaged level and materialize the target of achieving approximately 45% of the modal share in freight transportation in the Indian economy. For achieving these objectives, infrastructure investments worth approximately 8.5 lakh crores to upgrade the track as well as terminal infrastructure have been planned under this mission statement. Along with the infrastructure upgradation, Railways is extensively working towards increasing and diversifying the commodity basket, which we are presently carrying, to capture a greater share of the freight market, for which dedicated efforts for increasing the loading both of domestic containerized traffic as well as exempt traffic, palletization, and for drawing of white goods. And one of the recent success stories has been the increased transportation of motor vehicles by rail transportation, parcels and other high value goods, which are progressively shifting to rail as a preferred mode of transportation. On the infrastructure front, the overall investment in railways has increased significantly in the last decade and is expected to increase further to achieve the ambitious targets which have been set out. The rapid gauge conversion, electrification of the broad gauge network, last mile connectivity projects to mines and ports, as well as extensive upgradation of the signaling system, the transmission networks for the electrified sections, and infrastructures in the yards and terminals have been taking place, and more has been set in store in the coming few years to ensure that capacity is not a constraint for the traffic which is likely to be offered to the railways in view of the rapid pace of growth in the Indian economy. Railways have been putting in a conscious effort to increase the share of electric traction, thereby not only increasing the energy efficiency of movement, but providing an alternative to reduce fossil fuel dependence and gradually moving to renewables for power generation for in-house consumption. With the vision of providing eco-friendly, faster and energy-efficient modes of transportation, Railways is marching towards 100% electrification of the broad gauge network. And I'm happy to share that currently approximately 95% of the broad gauge network has been electrified. And we are hopeful that within this calendar year, the current broad gauge network would be fully electrified. Similarly, more than 95% of the rail network has also been converted to broad gauge to provide seamless connectivity to all parts of the country. Besides the energy related benefits, widespread electrification has also resulted in increased speeds, higher trailing loads, and thereby increased efficiency of rail transportation. In this matter, I would also like to share that progressively, especially in the eastern sector of the country where the bulk of the minerals and such as iron ore and coal are produced, a very large number of sections have been upgraded to 25-ton axle load to increase the payload per freight train and also reduce the energy consumption for carrying of the payload with these high axle load trains. And it is the effort to further proliferate this type of high axle load operations across the country wherever we have high density freight networks. The added capacity of the eastern and western dedicated freight corridor has also contributed to faster turnaround and time-bound movement, especially I'm happy to share that on the western dedicated freight corridor, which is primarily devoted to movement of the EXIM traffic, the transit times to from the NCR region to the ports on the western coastline have reduced very substantially by more than 50%, much to the benefit of the EXIM cargo providers. And I'm sure that with the full commissioning of the dedicated freight corridors, this would further proliferate in all segments of cargo which is being carried through these two corridors. To address the need of leveraging efficient and seamless multimodal freight transportation, Ministry of Railways had launched the Gati Shakti Multimodal Cargo Transport Policy in 2021 with the aim to develop world-class freight terminals. As a part of this policy, 63 such terminals have been commissioned till January at key logistic nodes in the country, and more than 170 locations have been identified for further development. For the ease of doing business, liberalized terms have been set out for usage of railway land for setting up of Gati Shakti terminals. Railways is also strengthening various partnership models with different segments of industry to cater to their logistics requirement. Keeping up with the technological advancements, many of these freight terminals are equipped with mechanized handling facilities for faster turnaround of rolling stock as well as ease of handling the cargo. For this purpose, deployment of conveyor belts for loading, silos have also been introduced in large numbers, especially in the coal, clinker and iron ore segments. Cranes and dumpers, payloaders, etc. have also been actively encouraged for introduction so that the end handling charges can be reduced substantially with the faster turnaround to the benefit of the railways as well as the reduction of the logistic cost for the business user. Along with these infrastructure upgrade works, Railways is also continuously adding more efficient wagons with higher carrying capacity along with higher horsepower locos so as to facilitate achievement of higher balancing speeds to reduce the turnaround and the transit time for the time-bound cargo, which is increasingly the norm across the country. Railways also have a mandate towards meeting the Honorable Prime Minister's call for increased usage of renewable energy by being an active participant in augmenting the renewable energy capacities of the country. Railways are continuously pushing the envelope for increasing our solar and wind generation targets within the railways, and have also taken an active effort to increase the penetration of rooftop solar plants across our service buildings. This is also a core input feeding into our NDC commitments. Railways have also launched an app by the name Rail Saver, which helps railway officials to track energy consumption in various activity centers, including the usage for traction purposes. This helps in making informed decisions regarding energy conservation, thereby reducing IR's energy bill. Not only energy efficiency, which is a continuous focus for IR, the other emphasis has been on water conservation, which is appropriately reused and judiciously used wherever possible. One of the prime examples which railways have been proliferating in the recent past is mechanization of coach washing and the usage of recycled water for coach washing. Every day, thousands of coaches at the end of their journey have to be washed for picking up the next leg of their journey, and the consumption is in lakhs of liters, which has been largely shifted to recycled water. Besides this, all major railway service buildings and residential colonies have been provided with water reuse and recharge facilities coupled with rainwater harvesting, and have been well appreciated by the end users as well as civil society at large. Railways have also set before themselves an ambitious target in this regard and would like to become a water neutral organization in the near future. At this stage, when we are discussing the decarbonization of logistics, it is very important to talk about the railways and the role it plays in lowering the carbon emissions of the country. Every effort to improve efficiency leads to emission reduction. A few years back, TERI had undertaken a study to understand the emission impact of per ton kilometer of goods transported via road and rail, and it has identified that the movement by rail emits 4 times lesser carbon dioxide as compared to roadways. The Center for Railway Information Systems, with the support from TERI, has launched Rail Green Points, where each consignor is awarded the Rail Green Points based on the extent of emission mitigation being avoided by choosing rail transport vis-a-vis other modes of transport. Between 2019-20 and 22-23, IR has successfully increased freight loading by approximately 300 million tons and freight movement by 234 billion net ton kilometers, resulting in substitution of approximately 18.88 million truck trips and preventing 5.82 million tons of CO2 emission. One can very well imagine the impact on the environment if majority of the logistics movement across the country is shifted to the railways from the present modes of transportation which are being used for this purpose. Railways, at the end, being the most energy efficient surface transport system, can and will play an important role in tackling supply chain emissions. This has also been reflected in India's nationally determined contributions towards the climate, where the Indian Railways is at the heart of the carbon mitigation strategy for India, with the ambition to increase the share of modal freight transport on the railways to approximately 45% by 2030. In the end, I would once again like to thank all of you for a patient hearing, and I'm sure that with the continued support of all stakeholders and the inputs being provided by TERI, railways would certainly be in a position to help the country in achieving its desired growth in the economy as well as with the mitigation of carbon emission. Once again, thank you very much. Good.
Thank you, sir, for your enriching words. It is a privilege to host you, and we look forward to your continued association with the summit and request you to stay back for the panel discussion. This session is on decarbonizing freight in India, turning ambition to action. The focus of this session will be on initiatives to curtail GHG emissions from freight sector in India. This session will delve into India-specific technology advancements as well as sector-specific barriers related to freight decarbonization. With this background, we'll have a short context-setting presentation by my colleague Ms. Viral Joshi, Research Associate, Transport and Urban Governance Division, TERI. Viral, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Anashli. Thank you, sir, for giving an insightful discussion on the role and importance of railways in the supply chain and freight. On behalf of TERI and Transport and Urban Governance Division, I welcome you all again to the thematic track Decarbonizing Freight in India, Turning Ambition into Action. It is indeed a pleasure to have senior officials from the supply chain and logistics segment accompanied by the experts in policy and research domain for this panel discussion. So before starting the discussion, I would like to take 5 minutes to discuss why discussing the supply chain emissions and logistics is important in today's era. Transport sector is responsible for 14% of energy-related carbon emissions. Majority of that comes from the road transport, and these emissions are expected to grow by 4-fold, reaching to 220 million tons, starting from 2020 million tons to around 1 million tons till 2050. Majority of this comes from the higher consumption of diesel and gasoline in the road transport segment, and which is majorly catered by heavy duty vehicles in the segment. And here the logistics comes into the picture. Globally, logistics sector is responsible for 11% of carbon emissions, which is, and 90% of that comes from the freight movement. Annually, India handles around 4.6 billion tons of goods, generating the transport demand of 2.2 trillion ton kilometers, which is expected to increase to 9.6 trillion ton kilometers by 2050. As this transport demand is majorly catered by the road transport sector, which holds around 70% share in the freight transport in India, it is crucial to discuss how we can limit the use of or replace the use of diesel in the HDV segment, as well as how we can keep on increasing the share of railways and other sustainable modes for the freight transport. India ranks 38 in the World Logistics Index. According to Leeds report, that is, it says that infrastructure in the terms of road, rail, and warehouses is satisfactory in India, but there is a greater scope of optimization and efficiency increasing in the service integration and first mile, last mile connectivity. We have sectoral experts here also who would tell us about how this multimodal integration and first mile, last mile integration can be optimized to achieve the goal of low carbon development for India. TERI recently undertook an interesting study to project the transport demand till 2070. Talking about the freight segment, the freight transport demand is expected to increase 11 times by 2070, and it will reach up to 32 million BTKMs by 2070. As we can see from the pie charts, that majority of this demand will be catered by MHGV segment, which is highlighted in the blue, and the share is increasing day by day. Railways will continue to be one of the integral part of the supply chain in India, and hence there is a need to address the emissions from the MHGV and LGV segment. We are expected that by 2070, the emissions from the transport segment, freight transport segment, will increase by 8-fold, and majority of them would be catered by MHGV segment. So, Indian government has been coming up with a different policy and guidelines and initiatives to curtail the emissions from the freight segment. Starting with the road freight segment, we came up with the National Electric Mobility Mission Plan almost a decade ago. And with the help of FAME subsidies and incentives and the state level electric vehicle policies, we have been able to achieve high share of electric vehicles in the last year for the registrations. And it is a pleasure to share that transport vehicles, freight vehicles, especially the freight vehicles, are leading the curve of electric vehicle deployment in India. Bureau of Energy Efficiency, along with promoting clean technology fuels and fuel blending, they are coming up with they are deploying the CAFE norms and coming up with better mechanisms for the carbon trading and PLI schemes to support the accelerated adoption of clean technology vehicles in India. As Sir rightly mentioned, Railways is marching towards becoming net zero by 2030, and different policies and heavy investments for the capacity upgradation and efficiency increasing under Gati Shakti, Cargo Terminal and Mission 3000 MT are being undertaken. Aviation and water freight segment are majorly guided by CROSIA and IMO guidelines, and they are taking measures to offset the carbon emissions, to introduce clean technology fuels and optimize the operations in order to achieve the sustainability. While we are talking about the policy and guidelines and pathways that how we can reach the low carbon development future for the logistics division, logistics segment, the role of OEMs is very important. Few years back, when the discussions around electric vehicles had started, everyone was skeptical whether the technology would be suitable or not. Will the uptake of electric vehicles will take place to the desired level or not? But it is very glad to see that in the into hard to abate segments like heavy duty trucking, off-road vehicles, even long distance passenger transport, we are seeing electric vehicles, electric bus connecting different cities for the transport. And I am sure that many of the WSBS participants also would be the proud EV owners, as I see some of our colleagues only using electric vehicles for the daily commute. So technology seems kind of a barrier when we are in the initial phase, but as we are seeing the developments in the electric vehicle uptake, we are also hopeful about the higher adoption of LNG vehicles and hydrogen vehicles in coming years in the segments of railway, waterways and airways as well. So this discussion and the panel discussion would be focused on leveraging what type of policy and technology advancements are needed, what are the barriers, how can we overcome that, and drive towards the sustainable future as a whole team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Phil. Without any further ado, we will now begin with the session proceedings. The session will be moderated by Mr. Narayan Kumar Sri Kumar. Mr. Narayan Kumar is an energy professional working across sustainable transport, electricity regulatory commissions, policymakers and development organizations, and holds a unique balance on various aspects of energy sector. Currently, he leads the electric mobility initiatives of Shakti Sustainable Energy Foundation, SSEF. Prior joining SSEF, he led the power division at TERI for preparation of DSM action plans and energy efficiency roadmaps across Indian subcontinent. With over a decade of experience, he has worked extensively with Electricity Regulatory Commission, multilateral and bilateral funding organization. I welcome you, sir. Please join us. We are happy to have a very distinguished line of speakers for this session. Our first panelist is Mr. Ramesh Kumar Verma. Mr. Verma, Deputy Secretary in Logistics Division, Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade in Ministry of Commerce and Industry. An officer of Indian Trade Service, he is the member of Technical Support Unit within the framework of PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan, overseeing overall coordination of TSU activities. In addition, his responsibilities extend to various areas including implementation and execution of national logistics policy. I welcome you, sir. Our next panelist is Mr. Sanjay Bajpai. Mr. Sanjay Bajpai holds the position of Executive Director, Strategic Planning, Business Development and Customs. An IRTS officer of 1989 batch, he had performed various assignments in Indian Railways, Department of Fertilizers and Concord in different capacities. He is Master of Philosophy in Sociology from Jawaharlal Nehru Vishwavidyalaya, focused on sociology of development. He was instrumental for the development of container depots at various strategic locations, which contributed towards attracting higher market share. I welcome you, sir. Next on the panel, we have Mr. Saurav Didi. Mr. Didi is working as Director in Bureau of Energy Efficiency, BEE. He is a mechanical engineer with Masters in Business Administration and Finance. In BEE, he is in charge of the energy efficiency in buildings and transport sector. Earlier, he was in charge of standard and labeling program, awareness, international cooperation, and also he was instrumental in the development of PAC mechanism. He formulated and managed National Mission for Enhanced Energy Efficiency, NMEEE, under National Action for Climate Change India. I welcome you, sir. Last but not the least, Ms. Chetna Nagpal. Ms. Nagpal is a senior associate at RMI, where her primary focus is on advancing sustainable transportation solutions to combat climate change. She supports the Shunya Zero Pollution Mobility campaign and collaborates with both public and private sector stakeholders to accelerate shift towards zero emission freight and passenger vehicles. Before joining RMI, Ms. Nagpal worked with the Electric Mobility Initiative at Shakti Sustainable Energy Foundation. I welcome you, ma'am. With that, I request Mr. Narayan Kumar to take forward the panel discussion.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to congratulate TERI for completing their 5 decades of existence, and of course for organizing this very important topic like decarbonizing freight in India, turning ambition to action. So I hope this panel discussion would have to find out that accelerating element for that, to turn this ambition to action. Not taking much time because friend Viral has already given the presentation about why we have to focus on the freight, what's the importance of decarbonizing in Indian context has been already well established. So without taking much time, I would like to start with the session. I would like to keep 5-minute each for each panelist so that we can have some sort of a time, because we are running short of the time. At least we should have around 5 to 7 minutes. I would request each and every panelist to keep discussion points within 5 to 7 minutes so that we can have some sort of 15 to 20 minutes for our participants to interact on the various aspects of decarbonizing the transport. So I would like to start with Ramesh sir. He's an instrumental behind this Giri Shakti platform. So I would like to understand from him what are the diverse policy initiative that has been taken by the government for bringing clean freight, which means that our Honorable PM has already highlighted the importance of bringing down the cost of logistics, as we are one of the emerging economies, because logistics is the most important element when you have been pushing our country towards much more advancement. So over to you, Mr. Ramesh. So what are your thoughts on that? How we can bring that kind of clean freight?
Thank you, Shri. Start answering your question. So basically, in DPIIT, we are looking after PM Gati Shakti, and we have issued National Logistic Policy, if you read. The National Logistic Policy is the framework and a policy which directly provide or give a way for green logistics and carbon emission, lower carbon emission. How we are doing it? This is being done at 2 stages. One is at policy level. We have issued policy, and in the policy framework, we have certain programs like CLAP. Under CLAP, we have issued SPAL, sectoral logistic plans. So right now, coal has issued one SPAL for coal sector, and we are planning for cement and other sector also that we will bring some sectoral logistic plans. Then, apart from policy level, what we are trying to do, we are at the planning level. I think any logistic efficiency can be enhanced at planning level. So our planning should be like in that way, when we can create a a plan for next 50 years or more than that. So in this planning level, I will mention here significantly that all our plans are evaluated by PM Gati Shakti unit, that is technical support unit. Then all the plans are being presented before our committee, and every plan is monitored and evaluated by the committee. After that, we give suggestions that how we can do it, how the way or the planning can be enhanced, how we can reduce our green emissions. So these two type of things we are trying to do. So this is my opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Rameshji. Thanks for sharing your insights on that. So let me go to Sanjay sir on that, because when we think about Container Corporation, there I really want to remind their tagline, like think logistics, think Container Corporation, Concor. So how we can make that tagline to change to think clean logistics, think Concor. So what are your sector specific barriers that you have been facing, you have been pushing towards a clean transport?
Right.
Over to you.
Right. So very quickly, first, what are the barriers and where we see problems? The first thing that when you are looking at this whole ESG issue, there appears to be a lot of fog. We talk to experts, they all have different opinions. You talk about what is the trade-off. We are told that there are carbon credits which can be taken. Carbon credits, the mechanism, nobody seems to be clear. So if we have to accelerate, let's understand we'll have to make transition to green fuels and transition to green modes financially sustainable. Otherwise, this will remain a topic for discussion. We can have seminars, we can have everything, but it will not lead to action. Related to this is the issue of international supply chains. When you talk of Concor, most of the Concor's business is on rail, which Mr. Chatrasal Singh very in a detailed manner explained how we are transitioning. I will add a few things more to supplement what he says, but the important thing is that different countries are facing different targets for net zero. When I talk to my partners, and supply chains extend all over the globe, so anything that originates in India, all the exports, they are going through territories and they are ending in different territories which have different goals. Now, we could accelerate transition to green if we are able to, have some offsets which will carry value for our partners. For instance, supposing there is a shipping line which is taking a booking from Delhi to a port in US, we would have to, one, demonstrate that our mode of transport is sustainable. Railways have already done quite a bit on this. And if there's an additionality, we will need to demonstrate that in order to be able to serve the customer who is not territorially within India. So that is an issue that needs, I think, to be urgently addressed. My understanding is that export of carbon credits is not permitted. So that will have to be at policy level looked at. And alternatively, we have to find engaging ways of doing it. Now, this is as far as regulatory framework is concerned. What is Concor doing? Concor basically transport through rail, which is already a green mode. We can have different, they are working to convert to biofuels and, sustainable methods. Now, what Concor has been able to do is to do two things. Mr. Chacharsal Singh explained to you about the Western Corridor, which has given benefit. So Concor established terminals which are required for interchange between different modes, and that is where the traffic originates, and we have been able to support and move forward and given the community a benefit, even cost reductions. The transport costs on DFC have actually come down. We are charging less while providing a sustainable, faster mode of transport, which has helped divert substantial traffic from road to rail. So that figures will have to be captured somewhere, but that is being done. Second thing is, when it comes to efficiency of rail transport, how much throughput can you achieve through a section is a very important parameter. So we can do that by first going double stacking, which is being done wherever it is feasible. And second thing is, on DFC, the double length trains are being run so that one train carries 4 times the load that that we can carry. So that is what is being attempted, and the first train was run recently with the support of railways from Mundra port to Khatwas, carrying 360 TUs, which is a substantial improvement. Then going for wagons which provide higher payload is the second thing. Third thing is, we saw the metrics of fuel and where technology is available. So you must have noticed that high HGV vehicles, LNG technology is now available. So Concor is switching to LNG technology, and we've purchased, we placed the highest order for, I still have some time? Yeah. So we placed an order, which was at that point of time the biggest order, and it is succeeding, doing well. The problems with in our country right now is that LNG is not available everywhere. So Concor has entered into MOU with IOCL, with IGL to set up our LNG terminals at our own, terminals, so that LNG is available wherever it is required. So we are making a beginning. These should be coming anytime now. Rooftop solar, we have gone in with the MOU with NTPC, and they are setting it up for us. Right now, we don't have a target of investing for sale the power, but we are, for our own purposes, we'll be doing it. Other than that, when you are transporting, there's an issue of consumption of diesel. Now, when you need to have controlled atmosphere, as of now, only fossil fuels are being used when transportation is happening, and it occupies the consumption is about 3 times of what a normal truck does. So what Concor has done is that we have gone in for a technology where we pre-cool a container and put temperature required for a, which is quite sufficient for any road transportation along the way. So that we believe will be contributing as we go along. This is all. The last experiment is that higher moving dimensions, railways, Mr. Chacharsal Singh mentioned, is targeting white goods, which is one sector where railways presence is, small. And that is where we are targeting along with railways. So rather than reduce rates, what we have done is we have increased the capacity by going in for a 12-foot container, which has about 33% more capacity. So we are working on the ground with railways, and with their support, we hope to make a dent and divert more traffic from road to rail so that it is sustainable.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. Thank you for highlighting the importance of modal shift, multimodal integration when you have been going for a more affordable logistics, and you have really highlighted the importance of financial sustainability when you really want to change the tagline from think logistics to think clean logistics. So now I'd like to move to Saurabh sir, being a champion in the standard and labeling process. So I really want to improve the efficiency of my logistics. So what I can do, how I can bring stringent regulations which will actually bring the competition as well as innovation in the market. We have seen the LED story, we have seen solar story in India, how the targets, how the signal by the policy maker have transformed the market. So what are your thoughts on it?
Thank you, Shri Kumarji. Good morning to all of you. And thank you, TERI, to call us here to discuss on a very interesting topic of decarbonizing freight in India. Whenever December starts in Delhi, first thing which came to our mind is that pollution. And when this pollution word comes, we think about, okay, let's go for stopping of vehicles, reducing vehicle movement, odd even, all those things. And however, as per the presentation, it is hardly 14% of total emissions are being contributed by the transport sector. But at the same time, PM 2.5 or PM 10 is also being contributed by this, which is roughly 28 to 30% in winters, whereas 17 to 20% in summers. So we have a strong connection about the way we look at pollution with transport sector. And now within transport sector, 3% is hardly trucks, LMVs, medium commercial vehicle, HDVs are there. But now they consume almost 28% of our national diesel. So there is a significant consumption. And out of that 14%, 34% is due to trucks. And whenever we pass highways where jams are there, we always feel that so much of pollution is there. And that's why we need to actually decarbonize this freight actually is very important. Now, I think in the presentation also it was showed 2.2 trillion tons kilometer is being used or transported by the freight sector, whether it's railway or road. And this is going to be 10 trillion tons kilometer by 2050. And I think she has shown by 2070 it was much more. And imagine that how these things will change and how we are looking at climate. Now this is the need of the hour, that whatever we are going to add, it has to be in some other way so that it's a green freight, we can say. And one of the way is, again, I will say that rail is a prominent area where we can do, and modal shift, when we looked at NDC targets and how our commitments are there. Modal shift is one of the key area where we can actually improve our or reduce our emissions. Right now, I think 17% is by railways and 71% is by the road, 70 or 71% is by road. But how we can switch these? And even if we look at data from 2008, when we have to travel for more than 300 kilometers, it was more than 50% by rail in 2008, which has reduced actually to 32%, which is not a good sign. But the way our highways are being constructed, this is actually going to happen. But at the same time, we have to have our rail mode also very good. Now, coming to what Bureau of Energy Efficiency is doing, we are doing a pan-India survey of the fleet, actually, that how their specific fuel emissions or energy consumption is there for the freight transport. And what we have observed, that small freight people, that with 1 to 5 has been reduced from 90% to 65% now, and big players are coming up. So that makes it easier that if we are going to give targets to those freight people that who are actually leading this sector, so that their energy consumption can come down. Second, but in this is not easy, because lot of implementation issues can come up, because you have to do monitoring of diesel consumption by each freight carrier people we have to do. But we are doing a baseline survey that how they are consuming, what exactly their consumptions are, and then we will develop a monitoring and verification protocol as well, that how, and maybe in future we can link it with the carbon market, that their consumption, if they will reduce their consumption, then they can be, carbon credits can be issued to them. Another thing which we have done is we have notified heavy duty vehicle standards, that how much fuel emissions or fuel consumption could be there for each category of heavy duty vehicles. So light commercial vehicle, medium commercial vehicle, as well as heavy duty vehicles, we have already notified, and that is in place. So no new vehicle can come in the market with lesser fuel efficiency. So this we have already done. Now, one thing, and I'll not go in cafe because it is related with the M1 category, but one thing what Sanjay ji said, that how to have an international linkage with these carbon credits, and freight sector can actually get carbon credits because I am handling Indian carbon market as well. So in Indian carbon market, we have two modes. One is compliance mechanism, another is offset mechanism. And in the compliance mechanism, which I said that if we will give them targets, they will land into the compliance mechanism. But the other people, for example, if somebody else is also shifting to biofuels or shifting to any other kind, or railways, for example, can generate offset credits as well, which can be sold domestically as of now. But there is a committee called NADAIPA, which is managed by Ministry of Environment and Forest. They decide that which of the sectors will be allowed for international trade. As of now, there is a list of 13 sectors where, or 13 technologies where they are allowing, but maybe that in future, that list can be revised, and then these sectors further can be included. Only issue there is that we also have to achieve our NDC target, that 45% of emission intensity we have to reduce, 1 billion tons of CO2 we have to reduce by 2030. So we are a bit on a safer side as of now. Maybe by 2027 or 28, we will be on a safer side. But if we feel that we are going to achieve much beyond 45%, then this 13 sectors can be expanded very easily. So it all depends on how we are approaching our targets. So without any taking further time, I will request all transport people that let's conserve energy and let's do reduce emissions for the better future. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarji. Thanks for highlighting the different initiative that has been taken by Bureau of Energy Efficiency. I hope as we have a lot of discussions going to happen in our NDC in 2025. So Sarji will definitely push forward logistics as a part of it, as a very important key element under the discussions. So we are with Chetana, as you have a lot of experience working with our Shoes Me campaign, which turned out to be one of the biggest which will result in the last mile delivery or last mile connectivity to electrification. So what do you think that, as being a part of knowledge, barrier that has been faced from a policymaker perspective as well as from an OEM perspective? You have been in bringing these clean freight mechanisms.
Thank you, Narayan, and thank you to the TERI team for having us here. I think I'm lucky that I'm sitting with the co-panelists who are leaders and experts and have majorly covered all the modes, and thanks to Viral for highlighting how road transportation is responsible for 70% of the freight movement in India. And we all will agree that electric vehicles or switch to zero emission vehicles is one such solution which will help decarbonize the freight movement, especially from the road sector in India. And one such campaign that is led by Niti Aayog and with technical assistance from RMI. The campaign is trying to electrify ride-hailing and delivery segment in India. It has a corporate cohort of 90 plus industry players, leading experts, and leading players, whether it comes from OEMs, ride-hailing players, delivery players, logistics companies, etc. So grateful to be working alongside all these partners and helping generate awareness around electric vehicles in India. Coming back to the question from Narayan, I think from the OEM's point of view, if we look at not just light segments, if we look at medium and heavy segments, there are no incentives available right now. There are loose targets by one or two states. I know Telangana is one such state which has a target for medium and heavy duty vehicles, which is 30% of electrification by 2030 and 100% by 2050. No other state has committed to any target. There are no targets for these two segments specifically at national level, and nor incentives are not available yet. We are seeing a great momentum right now with industry leaders as part of Niti Aayog's eFast platform, which has been able to aggregate demand of about 7,500 electric trucks. But we are still not seeing that level of policy momentum that is needed right now. And it's a chicken and egg situation right now, wherein government is yet to come up with policy incentives for trucks, because there are no actual models available. There are retrofitted trucks available, and there are larger players who are piloting electric trucks right now, but we are not seeing the level of momentum that we need to see. Similarly, from the OEMs end, they are waiting for that right policy signal, those incentives that are needed to be there for them to be able to invest the money that they would need to. Unless that chicken and egg situation is resolved, unless that collaboration is generated, we would not be able to see the level of electrification that we would want to see ideally in medium and heavy duty electrification. And unless we solve that puzzle, it will be very difficult to decarbonize road freight sector in India. From the OEM's point of view, not just policy signals, I think there are other barriers as well. Though we have an aggregated demand of 7,500 electric trucks, but we need to bring the different players together to be able to generate that momentum and push for further electrification, especially for medium and heavy duty vehicles in India. So I'll just stop here, and I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Chetana. Thanks for highlighting the importance of collaboration. And it's a very important point. Then when we have been working with the different OEMs, as well as we need to bring down the cost that Sanjay sir already highlighted. And the incentives, of course, we have seen our Grand Bus Challenge, how much success we have been brought about. So for the next FAME scheme, we all hope that the government will consider this, bringing these trucks also as a part of that. So hopefully by next year, we can see that how the Grand Truck Challenge is going to carry on over there. So with this, I would like to open the floor for discussions. And if you have any queries, please introduce yourself and please share your queries, suggestions, feedbacks on these discussions. Yeah, please. There are a number of.
Hi, I'm Sarthak from Ritco Logistics Limited. I'm the executive director there. So we specialize in full truckload bulk movement of goods, long route. So as someone who follows electric vehicles closely, I can see that in the near future, at best, we can manage short route movement of freight because in long route movement, even cars, which are not carrying any extra load with them, are only really able to do 400 kilometers, 500 kilometers in ideal temperature conditions, which India is not having for batteries. So knowing all of that, when can we expect long route vehicles, which would obviously benefit my business, decarbonizing, to be moving towards sustainable, electric vehicles, or maybe hydrogen, if that is something that you have?
Okay, this is very tricky question. Reason is that all boils down to the cost. That when India, as she also said, 7,500, that to aggregated demand is nothing. And if if this demand will not grow, then prices will not fall. So this is a very difficult question. When do you can get? But as of now, there are trucks available with, not maybe in India, but outside, which are long haul. Hydrogen trucks are available now in India. I think some Reliance or somebody is actually giving that truck. But again, boils down to the cost, whether that is acceptable cost to you, whether that gives you return. So that's why I said that let's start with, as I was telling her as well, that let's start with the small haul. That maybe within Delhi there will be no CNG or diesel truck will be allowed. So that kind of policy will actually create demand that only electric trucks will be allowed. Maybe in Delhi like cities, this can happen. So then demand, once this demand will grow, then automatically prices will come down, and then maybe better returns you can get. But yes, as of now, this is a need of the hour, I'll say.
I would like to add few points on that. Its cost is very important, but not only the cost. When we put the efforts from a logistic company's perspective, there are many other incentives that can directly influence them, like the entry and exit timing. The entry timings. If the electric trucks are able to get entry throughout the day, it will add in value for you. Or if there is some sort of a relaxation in case of gross weight, is it possible to create those kind of things? Or if we are able to create a uniform tariff mechanism throughout the country, one nation, one tariff for the trucks, especially for the electric trucks or clean trucks. So those kind of incentives can actually excite say companies like a logistic company. But of course, from an OEM perspective, OEMs are looking forward for the clear targets or the signals from the policy makers to put their investments in the assembly lines. But there are a couple of trucks model have been already launched. I hope in the last week in the Bharat Mobility Show, Ashok Leyland has handed over their 14-tonner already. So the models are coming. So just wait and watch. I think in our panel, OEM representative is missing to handle this.
Trucks are there. There is no issue that technology is there, trucks are there. But only thing is that there should be a buyer as well.
Yeah, please, sir.
So, break the second chicken issue. I think maybe we can identify some applications where maybe very big battery pack is not required, which would actually contain the cost. And also the route usage is known, which is repeated every day, like ports or steel plants or any such thing where heavy duty trucks are used in plenty. So electrification there may be a very possible and maybe economical also. And the other point is, other day we were discussing with battery swapping person. They are coming out with some model where they want to offer battery swapping for commercial heavy duty trucks, where they would be having smaller size battery assembly, and they are trying to set up swapping stations across highways so that the truck, when it's bought, will be without battery, and they would provide the battery swapping as a service. So that would also reduce the initial acquiring cost of the truck and also facilitate usage for long distances.
Absolutely, Rao sir. Because in case of port, already the Harisagar guidelines have giving the signals towards that how we can convert those things. Not
only ports, all steel plants, big areas where a lot of movement is there for material, etc.
All the closed loop application like mines, steel plants. I think China is doing already. They have been conducting, because last week I got an opportunity to visit one of these steel plant, but they are doing battery swapping over there. Like Rao sir mentioned.
A pilot study is required to be done to actually understand how it will happen.
Of course, we Indians believe what we see on road.
I think we are topped enough. I think it's high time we actually implement somewhere some pilot project where we can see how things are happening.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
I would be game for it.
Yeah, they're ready for the pilot. Sir, after this.
Hello. Yeah, hello and good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Abhishek Karmarkar, and by profession, I am an environmental engineer. So, sir, and all panelists, my question was related to the transportation of maybe the FMCG goods. Like we have consent to operate for red category industries, which includes several conditions, general as well as specific. So I wanted to ask your opinion about the same which can be included in the industries, or for the industries which are into this transportation business, maybe like the EPR targets we have, or the ash utilization targets we have for the thermal power plants, like to bring down their own scope on emissions down. Like maybe they can, like if the government can implement the search, or imply such targets on the on those industries, as well as the possibilities of infrastructure development if such industries go for e-transportation of their own goods. So my question actually was regarding if any condition can be included in the CTO for of such industries, and how feasible it is, or how beneficial it can be. So yeah, thank you.
For carbon market, it's kind of a targets for any industry, because one way what we were thinking is for example, I'm giving you just an example, that for the airports, and within airport what we are saying, that all the vehicular movements should be electric vehicles. So that way we are thinking, but not from the FMCG or any such industrial sectoral wise. But this is a good idea, we can explore. But as of now we are not doing any such thing. But yes, for the logistics, the freight people who are we are doing a study with the help of TERI, where we are identifying their total transportation, what is their specific fuel consumption and all those things. But it will take some time, but not from the FMCG or that what you are saying from that perspective. Yeah.
In that aspect, actually they can actually think about from their CSR or ESG perspective, because if ITC want to clean up their scope 3 emission, they can put the efforts on that.
Yeah, again, I mean, that's a great idea, not from FMCG perspective, but what Delhi government has done with the demand aggregator policy. They've actually mandated these service providers to electrify some part of their fleet to electric vehicles. So I think that's a great step by Delhi government, and something that can be explored by other states as well.
Sir, I have a question to Mr. Vajpayee. Sir, we have learned, 2-3 months back that you
Can
are
you please
working
introduce
with...
yourself first?
Okay, sorry. So my name is Sushil Rajput. I am from Kalyani Group. So I have a question to Mr. Vajpayee. So we have learned, through media that you are working on the container PLI. So is there any progress on that part? Because still we haven't heard anything about whether this policy will come soon, or at what stage this policy right now. Okay. So maybe DPIIT, sir, you have any idea? Because I think it's very critical.
Yes. Actually, I think previous week, Honorable Minister had a meeting on PLI. So in that particular meeting, Honorable Minister directed every ministry that we will do stakeholder consultations. So for stakeholder consultation, I think your input is very much required. I will request you, if you can give something in writing to your concerned ministry, which deals your subject, then we can do this. So it is going on.
Yeah, because I thought in this particular PLI, container PLI comes under the DPIIT.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
The official is there. The official has been nominated in that particular meeting from railways, from DPIIT, and from everyone.
Okay.
So it is better. I think this is the right time if you can give it in writing that this is my demand. And
Right.
if you are trying to do it, then please incorporate.
Yeah.
So official has been deputed.
Thank you.
This is
sir.
my input. Right.
Morning. I'm Ravindran. I used to be with the Ministry of Railways and Shipping. Currently, I'm consulting with TERI. So this is the question to Mr. Saurabh and Mr. Ramesh. So we have been discussing something to continue with the other question also. Railways on their own, they are doing a lot of things. They are going for 100% electrification to reduce the carbon emission and concourse at their own road. But actual benefit will come only when the modal shift takes place in a big measure from the road to railways, at least on the surface transport. On one hand, the National Rail Plan or Government of India policy says that from the 20 and odd percentage, it should be made to 45%. You just saw the presentation by the young lady that the gap is reducing as such up to 2070 what she has shown the ground. In this connection, unless the cost of end-to-end logistics comes down by using railways, I think this share will not go up. For that, one aspect will be monetization of the carbon credits. You said there are two ways to monetize carbon credit, using that compliance or offset. Is there any customer, has he got any money out of this shifting of model from road to rail? Is there any clear policy guidelines mechanism which will pass on the benefit in terms of money to a customer when he shifts from road to rail? I just want to know.
Look, this Indian carbon market is being established as of now. So in India, we don't have such example as of now. But we are in discussions with the railway board. And I think Monday or Tuesday, we had a discussion that how this modal shift will happen and what are the advantages railway also can get from the Indian carbon market. So we are right now working, but yes, there is a possibility that with the modal shift, if it will increase and we can show the additionalities and all those things, because this is the if the thing which you have to do, it's not a on its own, it is happening. So in that scenario, railway can get carbon credits with the modal shift as well, but we have to look into the modalities of that. For example, even use of green hydrogen also can get carbon credits. Use of biofuels also can get carbon credits, and by electrification, because when you are shifting to 100% renewable electricity, and so your emissions will be zero, so actually you can get.
I am not talking about monetization for the railways.
No,
see, railway will get when they do electrification, go for clean energy.
Now this will be passed on to the consumer is a big question.
No, I am talking. That will be for the existing 20-25% of the cargo. The benefit will come only when road shifts to rail.
Yes.
That will happen when the end customer gets benefit, not the railway organization.
Look, there are two ways to deal with that. One is because when we have to shift from road to rail, we need more investments. And this investment, say a few thousand of crore, out of that few hundreds of crore will come from this, and automatically your prices can come down. So that way is there. So it can actually reduce the cost by having carbon credits. But only this will not work, I'm saying, because that will be hardly 5% of your total investments. But the other thing which you have told, that end-to-end connectivity will play a significant role. That how we are connecting where rail is terminating, and from there your direct container is shifting to the city center or wherever it is going. So those things will be play much significant role, and there I think demand will increase, because right now people are afraid. And if we talk about issues, this is the major concern by the people who are using rail transport. So that way it will work more, but yes, it will help, but not that significantly that it will reduce cost by 50%.
Sir, as far as policy interventions is required, I think you discussed about policy. So indirectly, yes, we are doing it. Not directly. It is not mentioned in NLP, National Logistic Policy. But we have prepared a GHG calculator, if you heard so, a greenhouse calculator. So what I am trying to bring it a more sophisticated version of that. So at least we can count our carbon savings. So what we are trying, we have developed a tool. It is available on my website, DPIT. So at least we can create a certificate that how much carbon I have saved for after model shift, maybe, or after doing something else. The next step is obviously trading. So we will look into it. I am in touch with the agencies, international agencies also. Previous month I was in Hong Kong, so an UN escape program, and there also we discussed this issue at international level. Obviously Europe is doing it, but we are not doing it right now, as we can say. So we are looking into it, and surely will come out with the policy. So we, for the other people, because railway is an organization, they can do anything. But for the smaller people, if they want to take a benefit, we have created a calculator. Right. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ramanathan. I am working as a distinguished fellow in TERI. Of course, my background is power system, not in transportation, but is an area which I am taking interest. Maybe the discussions with Narayan. Two suggestions or points I wanted to make for your consideration. Number one, it's a good thing that we are electrifying the transport, but at the same time, we have to be ready with the T&D system infrastructure. My question may be biased to my background, but simultaneously, unless efforts are being done, it can be because solar rooftop, we have been doing number of studies. Same thing. It's a disruption, but it's required, we have to sustain it. So if we want to have sustainable development, it's equally important that in parallel, we have to make study what is required on the T&D system, how we can strengthen it, what is to be added. Because it also affects the demand pattern. Say V2G, G2V, all these will change the picture in the distribution system. So simultaneously something is need to be done. I don't know how far it is being done. The second observation or last observation, I read yesterday, in US perhaps 1.2 million electric vehicles are being added in that year, 2023 or so, but demand has come down. The reason is energy efficiency. So in parallel, these are the areas which I think may be of interest to have a sustainable development of electrification of transport. Any your
Sir,
observations or comments will be welcome.
So that is why Bureau of Energy become the nodal agency for both energy efficiency and electric vehicle charging infrastructure.
But actually, you're right. Just if we take example of air conditioner, few years back, if we look at and when sales of air conditioner rose from 2 million to 10 million, I'd say, then what happened that all of a sudden there were voltage fluctuation when everybody switches on their air conditioner in the evening with the evening peak. And imagine air conditioner was hardly 1.5 kilowatt. And every car, if it is connected with a 3 kilowatt or more, I'm saying minimum 3 kilowatt charger, what will happen to the infrastructure? So yes, you are right that has to be taken care. Otherwise, things will not go in right direction. But at the same time, green hydrogen will also play a significant role, because what I feel, electric vehicle and green hydrogen vehicles will come in future, and I don't know who will win depending on cost and the charging time versus charging, or that fuel filling of hydrogen is lesser, but the cost can play a significant role. As of now, green hydrogen vehicles are too costly. Safety is also a concern. So but these two technologies will go ahead, and let's see who will win.
It will also be interesting to know the consumer preferences, what time they want to charge, whether swapping is better from that point of view.
Swapping in two-wheelers as of now is easy. Four-wheeler truck, as you increase the size of the vehicle, swapping is not easy. So he can give us more insight, but I don't think so it's very easy thing to do.
Yeah, we'll have a separate conversation if there is any question on the back. Yeah. I hope the last question of this one. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shubham. I'm an analyst at IEFA. And my question is largely from the discussion held here. So India has a logistics cost of roughly 14%, which is higher compared to even the world average. Given this, and we have established that there is an increase of cost, at least in the short run. So this is going to be embedded in the cost of the product, which is also going to hamper our export competitiveness. So what are the kinds of, like, one of them could be the carbon credits, and maybe probably in CCTS we could have something like that. But other than that, are there any other carbon offsetting mechanisms? Because of course, good initiatives will not turn into actions unless there are takers for it. And I think export competitiveness is one of the reasons why it will be hampered. And I think Sanjay sir also talked something about this, that there have to be buyers for it.
First, first, I would like to correct you. Logistic cost, if you said that it is 14 or 15% or 13, no, it is not 14 or 15%. I think those were the wrong figures given by someone. I don't know from where that. If you read about the report released previous month, NASA report, it is roughly around 9 to 10% or 8 to 9% only. Further, we are trying to lower this. So that 14% figure is totally wrong. This is I want to add. Over to you.
Can answer better in this regard. How this can
They're really
work.
experiencing.
So, see, one, I agree with Mr. Ramesh Verma that the latest report which has come is talking about 8 to 9% of logistics cost. Right. And yes, we have a problem. I agree with you that when we are dealing with international chains, we are not able to work smoothly. It's not about benefiting Concor or benefiting anyone else. To work smoothly, you see, you have a problem also not just of this, but also for exporters. Indian steel is having a problem worldwide. And if we could find ways where we could show that, look, the energy being used in transportation of steel is, coming from the sustainable sources, it would help the industry. So that is also a level of, formal mechanisms that we'll have to work out and integrate in our legal structure. Also, probably.
If I can add here, average size of truck in India is, I guess, 12 tons. And if you look at any international segment, they have, I don't know what size they have, but they are at least 3 times than our trucks. So how you manage, and I think people from the logistics can tell us better, that if you have demand aggregated even for the transportation, your cost of transportation will come down. So that way, I think this 8 to 9% can further be reduced, but that is not happening as of now. Whereas India, it is not happening. But what is the reason for that? Now it's
in-plant infrastructure is not big enough to support. But I do have a further question now that I have a mic in my hand, if you don't mind.
Just one thing to add. I
Yes.
think it's not just that. The problem is also with the packaging of the products. It is not in a way that it can be packaged well, more efficiently, and transported well in the vehicles. Plus, there's lack of freight matching platforms. Matching right load with the right vehicle, that is absent right now. There are startups, for example, there's one platform called fred.com in the Brazil. Its intention is to match the vehicle load with the right kind of vehicle, which enhances the efficiency, brings down the cost. So unless we have those kind of mechanisms, it will be difficult to bring down the cost of transportation of goods.
Yes, absolutely. My question is to do with us talking about here today, changing the freight from a carbon running freight into something that's running on green energy, which we're mostly trying to do with EVs which are charged by the grid which is run 73% on coal power. So how are we actually achieving our goals here?
Shall I answer? We already created the ambition for 500 gigawatt by 2030. So our grid is going to be more and more greener.
Currently, we have increased our coal consumption year by year since 2020. 2020 being the exception year because of the word that I will not say that starts with C, COVID. Sorry. So we're actually if we look at our statistics of new installation of energy production, then yes, we are setting records every year for putting up more solar plants. In fact, we had our own solar plant in our own office now, which is helping reduce our load on the grid. But if you look at the exponential growth of our energy consumption in India and what that growth is being fueled by, then coal is actually what is doing.
Absolutely. That is why Ministry of Power has already come up with the green open access regulation in which each logistic player can become their own. They can put up their own power plant anywhere across the world, across the India, and you can procure the power. That's what Delhi Metro is doing. 50% of their total power is coming from the Reva solar power. So you can think about that. That is why from the 1 megawatt, it has been reduced to 100 kilowatt. The steps have been already taken. So now we have been looking forward with the current statistics also. If you compare with the current grid mix, still when you look into the total life cycle emission, it would be almost 18% lesser for an electric vehicle compared to an ICE vehicle. So I think that thank you everyone, because in short of time, I think you can continue these discussions over the lunch. So thank you everyone for all the insights, all the suggestions and the feedback that has been provided for that. Everyone has, I think that by after this session, so this topic is the most important topic for our 2024 for the discussion, how to turn our ambition to action through different kind of accelerating elements. Thank you everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. It has been a splendid session with such great dignitaries. Thank you, Mr. Narayan Kumar, for moderating the session so beautifully. And I would also like to thank all the panelists for such an enlightened session, and to our wonderful audience who've been patiently listening to this wonderful discourse. I would now request my colleague Viral to kindly present a token of appreciation to our distinguished speakers. First to Mr. Ramesh K. Verma. I would now request to present a token of appreciation to Mr. Sanjay Bajpai. To Mr. Narayan Srikumar. To Mr. Saurabh Didi. And to Ms. Chetna Nagpal. I would finally request all the speakers to come forward for a group photo, and if Mr. Shatrasal sir can also join us the same.
Sir.
I thank you all for your active participation in this session, and with this session comes to an end. Let's take this discussion over a lunch which is being served at the hub, and I also hope that the audience is not forgetting to tagging us on social media sites. In doing so, please use hashtag Act for Earth and hashtag WSDS 2024. Thank you.